Good evening. The third and final evening of 2026 annual town meeting will now be underway. I see that we have a sufficient number of voters present to allow us to open the meeting. And I will ask you all to please take a moment to silence your mobile devices. The meeting tonight is taking place in the gymnasium as well as in the auditorium. To vote on an article, you must be occupying a seat in one of those two places. Live coverage of this evening's meeting is being broadcast by Minuteman Media Network on our local access channel 9, as well as streaming on the web at www.minuteman.media/government and on Minuteman Media's YouTube channel. The meeting is also being broadcast live on our high school radio station, WIQH 88.3. I'd now like to invite Chief Brian Whitney to tell us what we need to know in the unlikely event of an emergency tonight. Chief?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Welcome all to the 33rd night of the Concord Town Meeting. Just a couple of quick items in the unlikely event of an emergency. First, we just ask folks to take a look at your nearest exits, beginning with the gymnasium here, the front of the room on both sides, the rear of the room on both sides as well. And just a special note, as you look at the stage to the right, there is an exit behind that screen. You just can't see the exit sign because of the monitor. In the gymnasium, in the auditorium, same thing. If you look to the front, to either side, and there are two exits behind you. And the folks, if anyone is taking advantage of childcare, the gymnasium, the red gymnasium, they will exit directly to the outside. Anyone who's here, parents that have taken advantage of childcare, we ask that you exit in the event of an emergency at the nearest exit. Your children will exit from the red gym, and they will meet out at that grassy area where the Concord Carlisle sign is, and that's where we'll reunite parents with children should we need to evacuate. Lastly, on the evacuation, we just ask you make an effort to keep the aisles clear, so should we need to, we have no obstructions as we evacuate. And lastly, we do have firefighters here tonight with an EMS detail, so should you have any medical needs or any questions or need assistance of any sort, just reach out to any uniformed public safety person and we'll get you the help you need. And with that, best of luck with the night 3 of the town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. On behalf of the meeting, I want to thank both Fire Chief Whitney and Police Chief Mulcahy and both of their excellent departments for their service to us during town meeting. I also want to thank the fantastic town staff who work to support town meeting after they've finished their day jobs, and you know who you are. Minuteman Media Network as well, Thistle Communications handling all the AV for us, Meridia Interactive Solutions handling our electronic voting, and our tireless stenographer Stephanie Farrell, who is working on getting the screen going so that she can provide Crow's captioning this evening. On Monday night, the meeting elected Mr. Eric Moore of 45 Francis Street as Deputy Town Moderator, and Mr. Moore will be presiding in the auditorium. At the front of the hall, we have our hardworking elected and appointed officials. To my right, your left, is the Select Board. We have with us next to them this evening our Town Council, Christina Marshall from Anderson Krieger. And if we have a legal question tonight, we will ask her. And then we have the planning board beyond the select board, and on my left, your right, we have the finance committee. Most of the materials pertaining to the business of the meeting this evening will be found in the Town Meeting Finance Committee report and the briefing book that were delivered to all Concord homes and is available. There were a few extra copies in the lobby, and it's also available to download. You'll find a QR code in the lobby, and you can sign on to the town meeting free internet here to do that. You'll also find a couple of handouts with last-minute things on the tables that relate to tonight's articles. In the front of the briefing book, you'll find Concord Town Meeting Traditions and Procedures. That's a really useful guideline for our process. In general, we follow town meeting time, the 4th edition, as our procedural guide. If you do have any questions about town meeting procedure this evening, please feel free to talk with our town meeting procedure resource person, Elise Woodward. from 379 Garfield Road. She's available for consultation on process issues, assistance in drafting and presenting any motions or amendments. Ms. Woodward's in the front row here, and I'm going to ask her to stand and wave so folks know where she is. Thank you very much, Ms. Woodward. There's a questionnaire about town meeting that is out on the tables along with a collection box. It would be fantastic if you could fill out that questionnaire. There's also a QR code that would allow you to do it online instead of on paper if you prefer. But all your information helps us make town meeting a better process for our citizens. I want to remind you that many, if not most, boards and committees will need some new members right after town meeting, and they are in search of citizens willing to serve. If you're interested in working directly on issues that affect our town and getting to know your community better, I would invite you to fill out a volunteer card. You'll find the cards out in the lobby, on the tables in the cafeteria, and you can also find them on the town website online. And in the annual town report for 2025, which is also in the lobby, you can read about the very interesting and important work that our 60-plus boards and committees here in town are doing every year. We have some visitors to tonight's town meeting, and we welcome them. Every visitor should have registered in the cafeteria and received a visitor badge, and they should be sitting in the visitors section unless they have permission to sit elsewhere. All voters this evening should have received both a voting slip, hot pink tonight, and a clicker. And we will generally be using our clickers on votes under the articles and raising our paper slips for procedural motions or motions under the articles that are very clearly and plainly non-controversial. You'll find an FAQ on electronic voting at page 127 of the briefing book. Please remember that only you may vote with your paper slip or the clicker that you received, and you should keep your clicker with you at all times when you're inside the building. If you need to leave the building and plan to return, you should leave your clicker with one of the check-in staff and retrieve it on your return. Please do turn your clickers in before you leave. We lost 4 last night. They are expensive to replace. They don't do anything besides vote with our system inside the building. So please do remember to return them. And if you happen to have accidentally taken one home, please bring it back to the clerk's office. Thank you very much. So we'll take a moment now to test our clickers. And I will ask Shannon or Donna, do we have our test vote number 3 for tonight? And I'll tell you that you'll see on your clickers, for those of you who weren't here last night or the night before to use these clickers, you've got 3 buttons. You've got a green number 1 yes button, a red number 2 no button, and a yellow number 3 abstain button. The abstain button does nothing besides register that you're not voting. It's the same as not voting, and abstentions are not counted in our votes. When you click yes or no, you will see an OK in the little screen that's on the upper right of your clicker, and you'll see a number that corresponds to what you voted. 1 if you voted yes, 2 if you voted no, 3 if you abstained. If you made a mistake, and you see, uh-oh, there's a 2 there, and I meant to vote yes, just change your vote. While the window is open, the last vote that you make will be the only one that registers from your clicker. If by chance your screen is dark, when you click the buttons or you see a letter instead of a number, your clicker is not functioning, and you should head out into the lobby and seek out the IT help, and they will give you a replacement clicker. Okay, do we have our test vote? Oh, there we are. Okay, this is tonight's test vote. Should Peyton Pritchard be named Concord's 2026 favorite Celtic? Okay. All right, can we open the window, please? All right, and you may vote now. Yes, if you want Peyton Pritchard to be our 2026 favorite Celtic. And no if you would choose someone else. And I should note that the first time we use the clickers in the evening, they tend to be a little slower because they're waking up. The rest of the evening, they will be faster. Okay, let us close the window. Oh, wow. Not Peyton Pritchard, I guess. Okay. All right. We don't have a preliminary motion to fix the end of this evening's session. It's our hope and plan to complete the business of 2026 annual town meeting this evening. One last word before we turn to Article 36, which is where we left off last night. As a community at town meeting, we want to be full and fair, but also to be respectful and reasonably use each other's time. So it's a balance. The meeting is, if the meeting is well-informed before the article, that's a good thing. But we also want to avoid repetitive debate that really doesn't shed much new light on the issues. So please do listen to the comments and questions of other people who've been ahead of you at a microphone, and consider these community goals and values before you rise to speak, and also before you rise to move the question. Thank you very much, and we have Mark Howell here from the Select Board, who has requested a moment.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I rise this evening with an additional thank you about a legacy of firsts, the town's first elected female moderator. We focus You have run the meeting with grace, fairness, and a focus on always trying to improve the experience of town meeting, which we all recognize is not a perfect form of government, it's just the best one we have. For example, in terms of innovation, her first town meeting as moderator in 2017 was also the first to use this room as the main meeting room, an innovation that stands to this day. We've just had a demonstration of clickers, something that we started studying almost immediately. We've voted outdoors and from our cars during the pandemic. And of course, the Town Meeting Study Committee has been advancing remote participation, which would create an option for many more to participate in this important element of local government. Not to mention her leadership at the state level in the Mass Moderators Association and contributing to the 4th edition of Town Meeting Time. I apologize in advance for this breach of town meeting protocol, as I ask the meeting to rise and thank her.
Well, there's a risk he's rendered me speechless. Thank you so much, all of you. We'll now proceed to Article 36, the zoning bylaw amendment for joint parking bylaw. We'll have the motion up in a moment. There it is. You'll see that this motion is moved as it's printed in the warrant. It requires a 2/3 vote. We need a second. Could I have one of those? I see that we have one. Thank you. And I want to note that the Planning Board, the Select Board, and the Economic Vitality Committee all recommend in favor of Article 36. Mr. Boardman.
Since I'm the first one, everyone can hear me, right? Yep, okay. This amendment proposes to delete and replace the current language under section 7.7.2.4 with new language. Additionally, it will clarify the use of the ambiguous term location in section 7.7.2.7, so it is clear it is referring to off-site parking, and to add a requirement that any long-term lease for an off-site parking arrangement is executed by all owners and tenants. Parking is and likely always will be a contentious issue. We appreciate that, but also recognize that reforming it is an important opportunity, which is why we see it come up in several action items in the town's comprehensive long-range plan, Envision Concord, a sample of which is set out on the screen. The Planning Board, in responding to this and the Select Board goal of that the zoning bylaw parking requirements be reviewed to make sure they are consistent with industry standards and address local business concerns, look into making changes in the zoning bylaws which support these goals. The town hired a transportation and parking engineer to evaluate the current zoning bylaw parking requirements set forth in section 7.7, comparing them to published industry standards and those of neighboring communities. He found that for the most part, the town's parking requirements are in line with industry standards in neighboring communities. A few could be amended, but it would not bring any meaningful change like those discussed in Envision Concord. That said, he did find that joint parking, section 7.7.2.4, is very restrictive and could be improved. I want to note here that joint parking is different than parking relief. Joint parking is where multiple businesses on a site are allowed to share the provided parking based on estimated hourly use. Parking relief is a special permit process where an applicant is asking to reduce the amount of parking on site that is required by the zoning bylaw, and in some cases not to provide any parking at all. The problem with the current bylaw is that the type of businesses allowed to utilize joint parking is severely limited. Also, the limit on how much parking can be considered joint parking is arbitrarily set at 50% with no analysis or justification required. And there is currently no provision which requires a new joint parking agreement to be executed when a business changes. The current language is outdated, does not take into account how businesses and consumers operate, and does not meet the town's Envision Concord goals. The current bylaw is very restrictive because it picks and chooses what types of businesses can use joint parking. So, for example, a pizza place and a bank in a plaza can make use of it because they meet the bylaw's narrowly defined categories. But two restaurants with different business models could not. So a Dunkin' and a 40-seat gastropub could not use joint parking despite operating during totally different hours. The proposed change would allow any permitted business to utilize joint parking if they can justify it. No change in use is permitted without a review and approval by the building commissioner. The building commissioner must receive a new hour-by-hour analysis and joint parking agreements by all the parties. The hour-by-hour analysis is the key innovation in this bylaw. Instead of just arbitrarily saying a bank and a pizza place can share 50% of their parking, they have to prove it by showing the amount of parking they provide is adequate for every hour they operate. Oh. Sorry, this was the last slide. I knew I would mess it up. An hour-by-hour analysis shows that what projected parking for each proposed use based on published industry data. The report is prepared by a traffic consultant who totals all the proposed uses and determines the estimated peak hourly demand. This peak demand is the minimum required based on the joint parking facility. In this example on the screen, under the current bylaw, none of these three uses, low-rise multifamily, office building, and a shopping center, would be allowed to utilize joint parking and therefore be required to build 323 parking spots. The bylaw under consideration would only require them to build 229 spaces they would actually need. The difference is 94 parking spaces, which, based on the best available information, will be empty all of the time. It's 16,920 square feet, about 8 tennis courts worth of impervious material that's being built for no reason. This is an example where you have the three proposed uses, and then the purple on top is what we see, the 229. This is a weekday, This is a weekend. You see that they never exceed the 229. Two examples of where this bylaw might have made a difference. This is the Millbrook Terry Shopping Plaza, where they built an entire parking deck over a low-lying storm drain or wetland area that rarely has any cars parked on it. And they were simply required because none of the uses could actually share. The other example we have is the new Paparazzi Plaza, where you see there is a tremendous amount of parking built all the way back, pushing into the Assabet River. They were able to utilize joint parking as a bank and a restaurant, but there was no consideration of the other two tenants within that plaza may not need all of this parking all of the time. So we might have had more open space and less encroachment into the river space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will open the floor to, let's just see if I have anyone else who wants to speak on this one. Yes, Wendy? Thank you very much.
Wendy Ravelli, member of the Select Board, speaking on behalf of the Select Board. Madam Moderator.
Proceed.
Right. The proposed amendment strengthens the existing joint parking program to the benefit of local business owners. It broadens joint parking eligibility to all businesses and zones with permitted uses and applies hourly parking requirements to calibrate actual parking needs based on hours of operation. The approach ensures adequate parking availability at all times. Any change in business use would require a new joint parking agreement. Should concerns arise, the building commissioner may conduct an immediate review and, if warranted, a public hearing convened to gather community input and allow the planning board to formally address those concerns. Joint parking agreement enables the right sizing of parking requirements, a practice that benefits the environment by minimizing unnecessary pavement in new developments and making better use of available space for our business purposes. The Select Board encourages support for Article 36. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ravelli. Okay, now we'll open the floor for questions and comments. We have two microphones here in the gymnasium, two in the auditorium. No pro and con microphones this evening, just numbers, and each speaker will have 2 minutes. Looks like we have someone coming to microphone number 2.
Hello, I'm Marty Plotkin, 54 Francis Street.
Mr. Plotkin.
I have a question for the proposers of the motion, and that is, if I understand correctly, all of the determination of these hourly usages is based on prediction in advance of approving the parking. Is there a feedback loop, so that if it turns out that that was an incorrect prediction and the parking is inadequate, to somehow rectify that? How does that work?
Mr. Borbin?
Yes, there is a built-in mechanism. Basically, the building commissioner can come back and reassess it. It becomes a public hearing process that's brought before the planning board to relook at the issue, where it may, if it proves it doesn't work, the ultimate is that it may force a change in business, removing tables from a restaurant, shortening hours so that there's not as much overlap, those kind of things. It's basically, it's a benefit you're giving a landlord, that they don't have to pave over everything to maximize the parking, but with that comes some responsibility that they may actually have to manage how those businesses operate.
Thank you.
Microphone number 1.
Hi, Abby Marsh, Barrett's Mill. So I have a question regarding, because we've put them into specific categories of retail, restaurant, et cetera. Is there going to be somebody who is going to look at the different potential tenants and basically say, you know, there could be conflicting, overlapping periods of time? And I'm bringing this up for a specific point. My parents owned the UPS store for 25 years. There were several restaurants that were right next to them. First it was TCBY, then it was Susie's Sweet Shop, and then it's now Sorrento's. What wouldn't have kind of come up on a graph like that, because you have obviously retail and then you have restaurant, was the fact that my mom had a UPS truck coming to pick up every evening right around dinner rush. There was also a big rush of people who had just gotten off of work, were coming to try to get into her store to do business, retail business, and they could never find a parking spot. When they would try to go and park by Bedford Farms, the DiGiovanni owners there had, their own security that were policing that parking lot. And so it is really challenging with something like this where you are trying to have the overlapping parking and not having dedicated for the store owners, for it to be so specific. So are there going to be, guidelines for the approval of, kind of finding out really what, the period of time that people are doing business, when is their busy hour for traffic? Because, just because it's a restaurant and just because it's retail doesn't mean they don't have overlapping, clientele.
Yeah, it would be related to that. I think what you also probably experienced is a situation where parking relief was probably what was sought when they did it, because I've been in that Sorrento's parking lot and there's no way it's adequate even for one business, let alone two. So what this proposal is more about is plaza developments. It's less about individual lots that are in very tight spaces in town, and that's kind of a distinction. This isn't the type of thing that a Cafe Nero needed. That was parking relief. Joint parking is where you basically have a small plaza that can build out a larger lot to actually accommodate the needs of the use that they're planning on doing, but there are overriding town reasons why, it would be great not to pave up to the property line.
Are there safeguards? Because, for example, what my parents had was a small plaza, to be able to prevent this from being used in other areas, or it would be, just town-wide?
It is town-wide. It would be any permitted use within the town, yes. But again, whether one plaza's parking is, whether one, small development's parking is or is not sufficient isn't necessarily what's going to this, because no matter how that plaza phrased its joint parking, it was never going to be enough. It was always going to be parking relief. So what I think you're saying is there a concern that somehow two businesses would share a small plaza. On paper, it's adequate, but then something goes wrong, and that's that building commissioner process we had talked about earlier, where we can reassess exactly what's necessary and how that works.
Thank you. We are out of time, sorry.
I know, but he took up about a minute of what I was going to say.
Well, you had about a minute and 45 seconds. I was watching, and then you had a follow-up question. So we're going to go, we got some other people waiting. You can come back, okay? Microphone number 2.
Hi, Steve Urza, 39 Cottage Street.
Mr. Urza.
So I was thinking that this bylaw could be used, will be used by developers to maximize their development. So in other words, they will maximize their parking, and then because they're allowed some relief under this joint parking, they will be able to build a bigger building, and then they will have as much parking as they can, and there may not be any room to build any more parking because they've maximized it. So in the result, we're going to have bigger developments, more cars, and may be a lack of parking. So just a point, that's all.
Mr. Borbin?
Sorry, the goal of this is to reduce the available parking. It's not to create a mechanism to enlarge buildings. So as part of the process we've seen in the past where people are asking for different changes like this as part of their permit, this is a public hearing that's done through the planning board, it's requested. The planning board is going to look at it and say, okay, the builder actually has to prove they are able to build adequate parking for the use that they're proposing. So they would have to, in the example we have, they would have to be able to show they needed the 300-something parking. They could build the 300 parking spots before they were able to apply to build only the 220. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know the future, and if they maximize the building and then it draws enough cars in and there's not enough parking, it overflows. I'm thinking of Dino's as one, where it was that building was built to, there was relief granted, and there's not enough parking, and then because they got the parking relief, a bigger building was built.
So again, that's the distinction of parking relief. They were told they don't have to build the parking that would be adequate based on whatever the site conditions were, available public parking. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that people are able to utilize to say that the parking or the area parking is adequate. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a site that actually has the ability to build adequate parking for the proposed use, and they're just asking not to because they don't want to pave every inch of the lot.
Mr. Moore, do we have anyone in the auditorium?
No, Madam Moderator, we do not. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I'm going to come to you next because the person at microphone number 2 hasn't spoken yet. So microphone number 2.
Thank you. Carol Savoy, 61 Belknap. Article 34 passed last night, and it already reduced residential parking from 2 spaces per unit to 1.5. Article 36 builds directly on that change. It expands joint and off-site parking, so parking doesn't have to be provided where the housing is built, and often not at the level we've historically required. Under our current bylaw, joint parking is limited and capped. Article 36 removes those guardrails, allowing it for any use in any district based on a hypothetical hour-by-hour analysis. The numbers example shown isn't a real project. It assumes perfectly staggered demand that rarely happens in real life. But the outcome is real. The less required parking means more buildable area and more units. Combined with Article 34, this creates a clear path: reduce parking, shift it off-site, and increase density on-site. Because the parking demand doesn't disappear, it moves into neighborhoods and streets. The goal shouldn't be more pavement, but it also shouldn't be too little parking. Concord works because it's both walkable and parkable, and our current bylaw already allows shared parking with limits to strike that balance. Article 36 goes much further, turning parking reductions into a broad zoning tool without fully accounting for real-world impacts. This isn't just about flexibility. It's about enabling higher density by lowering one of the key constraints on development, parking. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Gib Metcalf, 19 Damon Street.
Yes, sir.
I think this is a really great idea. I love open space. I don't like parking lots. It just seems like a really smart, rational approach, and so I support this. And I kind of feel like we ought to be debating this to the soundtrack of Joni Mitchell singing, "They paved paradise and put up a parking lot," because this is what we're trying to avoid. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone number 1.
Hi, Abby Marsh from Barrett's Mill again. So I just want to make a comment. It's all well and good and hypothetical, but the fact of the matter is it's very hard to trust that a developer is going to do what they say. For example, at the Paparazzi development, if you go on that website, they said that they were going to be bringing things and businesses to the community that would enrich the community. I hate to say, and I love a burrito, but I don't think Chipotle and another Starbucks is really what we would consider to be an enrichment to the community. I think developers have a way of manipulating laws, and we have to be very thoughtful. And if this isn't saying that specifically, if you're not using the parking spot, it has to be green space, they're going to be using it to put up larger buildings, as Carol mentioned before. Or can I ask, does it require that instead of the parking that they are using it for green space, or could they use it to develop a larger building?
Mr. Borbin?
It does require that not be. You can't build a larger building based on this in and of itself.
So it does stipulate that it has to be green space.
Madam Moderator, Elizabeth Hughes, Town Planner. So part of this conversation is pulling out one aspect of a project site, which is not reality. Reality, and we can start with the redevelopment of Paparazzi site. You have a building, you have uses, You have parking, you have sidewalks, you have trash, you have snow storage, you have stormwater drainage, you have areas for lighting set back so they don't get hit by a plow, you have the driveways. And all of those items get taken into consideration when you're building a site. For joint parking, each joint parking application that comes to the planning board through a public hearing process and the hour-by-hour analysis based on significant industry standards is very specific to a use. And it's not just retail. It's different size retail have different hour-by-hour uses based on the size of the retail, how many customers they have, how many employees. The same thing with a restaurant. A restaurant with 5 seats has a very significant hour-by-hour analysis than a restaurant with 55 seats.
But to the gentleman's point before, we're paving a parking lot.
Excuse me.
Ms. Marsh, I'm going to ask you not to interrupt the
I'm
speaker.
going to finish. So you can't just build a bigger building because that hour-by-hour analysis will change with every use in that building. So
So it's a no for the no green space. But that's what I just wanted. My question is whether it mandates green space. And I've not heard anything that says, yes, it mandates green space.
you could not mandate green space because that is not the only element that goes into the development of a good site design. So it could be an outdoor patio, it could be green space, it could be a stormwater
But we're not
stormwater
regulating
basin.
it in any way. I just want a clarification. Is there any regulation as to adding that?
I think that what we don't want to do is get into a wrestling match with the
No,
speakers.
that's fine.
Okay.
I just wanted to
So
know.
your question is, what is, if joint parking is permitted, what impact does that have?
Because if we're supposedly doing less parking, are we going to, be mandating it for something else so that a developer cannot abuse it to build a bigger building? Can we mandate that it's green space? And if there's nothing in there that says that, then to the point, we're paving paradise for trash. That's my
All right,
thought.
so I hear the question being, can you explain how this works? If there is, if you have 2 businesses that have shared parking, so that arguably each of those businesses needs less parking than they would if they were conflicting with each other for all hours of the day, what happens to the space that they don't have to create as parking? That's what I hear the question to be. And
That's
maybe there's
correct.
not an easy answer to that. So
Thank you.
I think, why
That was my question.
don't you can have a seat and we'll get an answer to your question. So as best you can, if you can answer that.
It provides more flexibility to the developer to create a better site and a better use. So the end result is you end up with more possibilities of things like the pedestrian patio between, Concord Tea Cakes and is it the fish places right on the corner? So that it's not necessarily that it's going to be green or whatever, it's not necessarily going to be 100% parking. Could it mean that the dumpster moves behind the building now because you have more flexibility on the site? Could it mean that the water storage, like the water retaining thing, becomes something more like what's at Ride Out Field, where it's a small whatever, that, as opposed to a buried well? Like these things are entirely possible, but it all goes to the particulars of the site and the particulars of the project, which is part of the public hearing process at the planning board. So it becomes more of a community discussion. I think what I've heard too said a couple of times is the avoidance of arbitrariness. And part of the reason this came about was the paparazzi development literally gave an application and said, we have 2 uses, they're sharing 50% of their parking, and that was it. We didn't have a mechanism to even say whether that was an appropriate amount to be cut, which is why the hour by hour is so important, because it lets us actually look at what they're planning to do and say that that 50% reduction is appropriate, or it's not for X, Y, and Z reasons, and have the type of discussion we're having now in your public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to microphone number 2.
Eve Eisenberg, 833 Old Road to 9 Acre Corner. But I also have an office, an architecture office on 18 Main Street here in Concord. And I just wanted to explain the point of view of a user of this bylaw, because we shepherd our clients through this process fairly regularly, and most people feel like zoning is fairly abstract. No offense to you guys. But what happens is when we're designing a building for a new space in Concord, we are obliged to follow a certain part of the zoning bylaw for those buildings that involves setbacks and height limits and FAR, which is floor area ratio, and you can contact me later if you're curious about that. And then there's a separate section of the bylaw that deals with parking. And parking is a humongous thing that everybody's worried about all the time, for sure, and we should be. However, most of the parking, in my experience, is covered by a different section of the bylaw than the one we're talking about now. This is a small part of the parking bylaw, and this small part of the parking bylaw feels to me, as a user of the bylaw, as a mallet. It's a mallet that's hitting the ground all the time, and it's not a useful tool anymore, because we bring our clients to site review, and we're just asking for a waiver all the time. And the only person who really benefits from the bylaw the way it's written right now are the traffic engineers, who get to write the same traffic report over and over again for some huge numbers of dollars and then present it for a waiver. It just doesn't work. What I need as an architect is a scalpel, the tool of the scalpel to determine like how the parking is actually working to the day without knowing what the end result will be. We don't know what the end result is until the study is done. And so what I need is a very careful study that shows what the use of my client is and what the uses are around her development, what could be done, what can't be done. And this very careful tool could give us actual information that we could actually use to then design the rest of the site.
And thank you very much. That was very helpful, but you are out of time. Microphone number 1.
Gwendolyn Humphreys, 400 Hayward Mill Road. If I'm understanding this correctly, and I think I am, this would mean that the parking lot is based on the entire building and the entire building's usage and what hours that happens. So if there's, 2, 3, however many things happening in that building, and they use the parking lot at a different time, they all get to use the right amount of parking, and we don't have extra. And you're nodding, so I know that's good. So if there is extra space because they didn't have to build all the parking, and so they built a bigger building, now the building's bigger, there's more usage, now they need more parking? Is that, would they need more parking if they built the building bigger, is basically my question.
Well, you wouldn't be able to apply for this without knowing what your building is actually going to be.
Right.
So it's not the kind of thing where the building can keep creeping bigger because you're able to keep filling out more and more of it like some sort of amoeba that just absorbs everything. You're presented with a use, and then that use defines how much parking you have to build.
Okay,
And it
so
doesn't
you don't have the option of just expanding into whatever space you've got because you said what you're doing. Okay, great. I think this is a great idea. I think parking is important, and I think not having extra is also important. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have anybody in the auditorium, Mr. Moore?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Very good. Microphone number 2.
Rich Feely, 347 Lexington Road. I urge adoption of this article. We can all come up with scenarios where maybe there would be some monster development. I don't think it's going to happen in this town. I've been to too many annual meetings to know what would happen to large developments. This is an increment on development, and I have to give credit to both the staff and the planning board. There's an incredible amount of thought that's gone into this, and I think we have to respect the people who volunteer to do this work, to do it conscientiously, which I think you've done, and come up with something that says, yeah, if you're going to have an American Legion and a barber shop, you don't necessarily have to put the two together because the folks don't show up at the Legion till 5 o'clock. So I think this is a worthy incremental change, and we ought to get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Thank you, Diane Proctor, 57 Sudbury Road. Andrew, I loved your presentation. I do want to just say one thing. Is that the mill dam example, and I'm sure this is making the obvious apparent, but the mill dam, of course, is not being used because there's nothing there. Citizens has gone away. The restaurant went away. I mean, there's a wonderful Concord Market there. There's the CVS, but that unused parking right now strikes me as not necessarily an anchor for the argument. What is happening at the paparazzi is more so.
You may respond.
The only thing I will say is the only reason they built it was because they had to.
Okay.
And so it was not a site that one would have thought was conducive to adding more parking, but they wanted to put in the market, and so therefore they found a way to build a lot more parking. And you're correct, the uses, now that it's empty, it feels like a silly example, but it wasn't full even when those restaurants were running because the restaurant doesn't operate the same time as the Citizens, and it doesn't operate as many, all of these different
All the other
examples.
variables, okay.
And we were just trying to come up with 2 examples of where this might have been a benefit.
Thank you
It's
very
not
much.
exactly specific to that circumstance just because of the unique nature of it, but it's an example.
And incidentally, on 34, I've been doing some car shopping recently, and I still can't find a half a car. So I'm very curious how they deal with 1.5 cars, but thank you.
Microphone number 2.
Colleen Humphreys, 400 Hayward Mill Road.
Ms. Humphreys.
The planning board is picky. There are members on it right now who are very, very picky. And the current, it looks like the way it is currently, it's a cookie cutter. And this is to make it, force the architects to be more thoughtful and careful and flexible. And the planning board isn't gonna say yes to stupid things, whereas right now they might get stuck with a bad one and a worse one, so they pick the bad one. But the goal of this is to have a better one be one of the options. And right now, I mean, I know we've had planning boards in the past that I wasn't thrilled with, but our planning board right now is awfully picky, and I like picky planning boards.
Thank you very much. Anyone I see we have one person at a microphone in the auditorium. Let's go there.
Please.
Pamela Dritt, 13 Concord Green. I think this is a wonderful improvement. It allows for creative flexibility such that you can have wonderful things happen that couldn't happen under the current restrictive legal thing without going through a whole lot of changes. And I'm thinking of, I live in West Concord, and I noticed that the parking lot where the White Hand Pantry and the pharmacy and the wine store has signs all over it. You can only park there if you go, for customers of those stores, or you'll be towed. I don't know how they'd know. And I've never seen a tow truck. And at the little lot by the Club Car Cafe, which I love, it's a great place, is reserved for the Club Car Cafe only. Right next to that is the Open Table, that's not wrong name, Woods Hill, which are open entirely different times. I bet it would be the benefit of the whole community if the Club Car Cafe could put signs up that said, Club Car from 7 a.m. to 2, and then that would allow Woods Hole and, the other restaurants to use that lot. Would anything in this enable businesses to make shared parking arrangements with already existing businesses?
Thank you. We'll get an answer to that question. Mr. Boardman? The question was, would anything in the proposed bylaw enable existing businesses to share parking with other existing businesses? I think I got that right.
There's nothing to prevent that, but there's no incentive within this bylaw. This is purely a, this doesn't cover that kind of thing. Yeah, and if they wanted to go through planning board's site plan review process for fun, they're welcome to. But somehow I doubt that an existing business would be all that interested.
I don't know, it could be fun. Mr. Van Loon, microphone 1.
Eric Van Loon, Martha's Point Road. I'd like to call the question.
Well, you know, you're the last speaker, so how about we just go to a vote? Is that okay with you?
Sure.
All right, excellent. Okay, so let's use our clickers for this one. And I will ask for the clicker window to be open now. It's open and you may vote. Oh, sorry, not quite open. Getting a little look at the back office here.
36.
We're on number 36. Okay, open. Now you can vote. All right, let's close the window. Okay, so this is a 2/3 vote, and at 232 to 42, this definitely passes by 2/3, and I do so declare. Okay, so we have addressed Articles 37, 38, 39, and 40 on the consent calendar, and we will now proceed to Article 41. We're waiting for your motion.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I move to have the town to appropriate $991,421 from the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, using revenues to expend under the direction of the town manager for necessary expedient stormwater system expenditures during fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027.
Can we have a second for the motion, please? I see that we have one. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are back. This is the third year I'm presenting on stormwater. We're pleased to say that we have fully stood up a new stormwater utility. Bills went out successfully this year. We have made lots of inroads as far as designing and implementation of this initiative that really dates back, a number of years, where the Climate Action Committee and vulnerability assessments for Concord said stormwater is a priority. We need to make more investments in stormwater management. The needs are inclusive of improved operation and maintenance of our existing infrastructure. We need to do additional inspections and monitoring to evaluate the assets. We are looking to mitigate and minimize flooding where we can, and avoid more catastrophic emergency responses that can be very expensive, where we've had failures not in the not too distant past. The infrastructure or budget drivers are really based on the old and aging infrastructure we have in town. I won't go through the details, but it includes culverts, bridges over water, catch basins, manholes, and miles of stormwater pipe. We're also regulated. Stormwater is regulated through the MS4 EPA program, not just on quantity, but on quality. So protecting the natural resources is a significant driver in the efforts that we'll be undertaking. Again, the history is in 2024, we established the Stormwater Enterprise bylaw at town meeting, went through a lot of public outreach and awareness, developing a plan, sharing that plan, making the case for why we needed a stormwater utility. In the 2025, the Public Works in that bylaw was established as the rate-setting authority to manage this utility. They adopted rates as well as policies, procedures relating to credits and abatement processes. And we are now looking to expend monies that are coming into the fund through the annual town meeting. And given that this is a pure enterprise, we are obligated to identify what those expenses will be. And I will go through sort of offset by the fact that we're collecting revenue. And a reminder to the group, one of the major drivers of getting funding for this, what we call orphan utility, where it's out of sight, out of mind, was to try and develop a fair and equitable approach to how we would assess this fee. And it's important to note that if we had included only through taxes, we'd be losing a lot of properties that actually get the benefit of stormwater management in both the public area as well as what we need to do and work with them on their own campuses for the protection of the quality. So all properties that have impervious cover are assessed a fee, whether they're tax exempt or not. That includes institutions and federal as well as state properties. You can see the apportionment. We have non-residential, which makes up close to about $600,000 of our anticipated revenue. Large residential properties, it would be things like Concord Green. And then the small residential properties are those 1 to 3 family properties where we anticipate, you'll note that the revenue is projected to be a little bit more than what we actually are proposing to spend. We anticipate there may be some monies that go towards credits that we try to incentivize some people doing work, on their own property to better manage stormwater there. The pie graph here identifies, I'd sort of focus on the 3 larger slices of the pie. Infrastructure improvements. Those are things that we would be spending money when we're doing, say, roads program, when we come across some stormwater infrastructure that is in need of repair. We don't want to be drawing from the roads money, which is for the pavement, to invest in other, miscellaneous costs. So this is allocated for any of those needs that we identify. There may be some phosphorus reduction that we might do through some design projects in the public way. Other professional technical services is a large chunk of our anticipated expenditures. As a new utility, we have to outsource a lot of support that would include design for phosphorus reduction projects, estimated cost about $100,000, asset management system inspections, and I also would look at the catch basin cleaning. That's a very important driver for all communities to maintain the catch basins so sediment doesn't get into the river systems and they function properly. This is generally what I just described. I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you very much. Let's see. I don't think we have any other boards and committees who wish to speak on this. We will open the floor for questions and comments. Microphone number 1.
Hi, Shelley Amster from 44 Prairie Street. I've lived across Thoreau School for almost 38 years. the same parking lot that has supported the original building has not changed, and the two drains have never worked. That parking lot is flooded after every rain. And I've gone to the school and I've gone to the town about who's responsible, and they each say it's someone else. Is there going to be a more organized process, especially now they're going to be redoing that parking lot, to make sure it's on the abutting the Assabet River? And so I don't know what's going in there.
Great question. And yes, with this program, we will start identifying and prioritizing different projects. Whenever there's construction, say a repaving of a parking lot, I'm trying to think, was it the parking lot just across the way here? You'll notice that was repaved. Is it the Turtle?
That's the Turtle Crossing?
You see there's a new, as part of the repaving, there is some area that was designed, installed for stormwater management. So that is going to be integrated into any of these projects that the town will be managing.
And so who is responsible for contributing to that? Is it this, because the school make their own pavements?
No, so the school is assessed a fee, correct. So they would contribute to the larger fund, which is managed through Public Works and invested through Public Works.
Thank you.
Microphone number 2. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Steve Urza, Cottage Street. I'm not sure where it falls on your radar, but there's a large flow of water going down Cottage Street and into the wetlands and the Assabet River wetlands across between Cottage Street and the river. Just wanted to flag it, that's all. But it's been going on for a while.
Thank you. And any comments or concerns or observations, please contact Public Works Engineering Division. They'll be able to at least flag it, make sure it's on our radar. So if there's any projects in the near future, we can at least anticipate maybe some additional effort on the stormwater.
There's also a place to register potholes. I've used it. So this, by the way, folks, is one of the reasons why we pull, there's so much that's routine in our enterprise funds, and we handle them on the consent calendar. But we learn so much when we do have a full presentation and we have the opportunity for folks to ask questions about what's going on with these important utilities in our town. So thank you very much, Alan. Microphone number 2.
Tom Tarpey, Heathsbridge Road. I'm wondering if what appears to be a disproportionately large expenditure on consultants is a function of this being early times in the utility, and whether as time goes on you anticipate a greater proportion of your expenditures will be for actual pipe, bricks and mortar.
That is the goal, as well as potentially in-house engineering support. We do have one engineer who is working on stormwater, but also working on roads programs and other things. But as this utility evolves and we complete our asset management assessment, we'll have a better sense of the needs and then identify what are the resources to do design and construction.
Microphone number 2 again.
Yes, hi, Kim Novick, 53 Temple Road. Just a quick question. Last night we were talking about improvements over by White Pond, and that included stormwater and paving. Who's going to be responsible for the stormwater? Will that come out of this, or does that come out of the abutters?
No, because of the unusual nature of that neighborhood, that improvement will be entirely the abutters, and the maintenance of that system will also be the abutters because it's on a private way.
Cool, thanks.
All right. I don't see anyone else at a microphone. I think we are ready for a vote. Let's use our paper voting slips for this, please. We only need a simple majority vote on this, not 2/3. All those in favor, please raise your voting slips. Thank you very much. All those opposed? Well, that looks unanimous here in the gymnasium. What's it look like in the auditorium?
Unanimous here as well.
Very good. So Article 41 passes by a unanimous vote, and I do so declare. And we'll next take up Article 42. And we'll see the motion under Article 42 in just a moment. And I want to note that there are lots of materials on this article that are in the briefing book starting at page 86. Okay, and the motion is on the screen. Ms. Carlin moves that the town take affirmative action on Article 42 as follows, and you'll see that that looks a little bit different from what the article looked like in the warrant. So that's the motion that's being moved. Can we have a second for the motion, please? Thank you. I see that we have one. And I want to note that we have Ileana Benson doing the presentation here. She is not yet registered to vote. She's on her way, and she has my permission to present this article.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Ileana Benson. I lead the Sunrise Club at Concord Carlisle High School for Legislative Climate Action. Following feedback we heard from different town committees, we have changed our motion to better fit Concord's needs. The town urged the select board to request that the town manager investigate and report to the board on the feasibility of adopting and offering a town-wide ratepayer composting program as proposed by the Concord Carlisle High School Sunrise Movement Club. Our overarching goal in this warrant is for the town to research composting so that we may lay a foundation for town-wide composting in Concord. To start off, I'll explain the mechanics of composting. Composting diverts solid waste from landfills while also making a valuable resource for farmers and home gardeners. Composting is a closed-loop system and keeps carbon in the soil and out of our atmosphere. It reduces pressure on landfills and, all the while, revitalizes our soils. At this point, you're probably wondering, so why do we want to remove waste from landfills? Landfills release methane, which is 84 times more heat trapping than carbon dioxide. Essentially, landfills emit a lot of greenhouse gases. Concord produces around 623 tons of carbon dioxide per year by sending compostable materials to the landfill. With 47% of household solid waste being compostable, you can stop almost half of household solid waste from going to landfills if you compost. One big reason Concord needs to view composting as a priority is cost. All in-state landfill sites are projected to be at capacity by 2030. After 2030, solid waste removal fees will increase due to companies being forced to remove waste to out-of-state landfills. In addition to residential solid waste removal services, commercial businesses are already being impacted by the state. There is a ban on commercial waste exceeding 1/2 ton being sent to landfills, and the state is looking to further tighten that ban. If the town offers composting as an option, we will help local businesses financially and support them in going green. At the moment, Concord has no composting available to residents through the town. Ending last summer, they offered a drop-off pilot with an overflowing response. A big reason the pilot ended was due to too many people dropping off composting. Right now, residents can make private individual composting subscriptions to independent companies. Our goal is to make composting more accessible, cheaper, and more widespread across Concord. So what exactly does a ratepayer plan do? Concord would negotiate a contract with a composting company so that residents can opt into the program, just the same as trash and recycling. The negotiated plan would be cheaper for residents rather than making individual subscriptions, which encourage more people to join. With this, Concord can be a leader in sustainable waste management and easily reduce town-wide greenhouse gas emissions. Evidence shows that towns that have a partnership with a composting company have lower solid waste fees due to diverting food waste. Since composting will reduce the amount of solid waste per household, it will also reduce the overall cost of trash for all residents due to how the town's current contract works. If the town does this research now, we will all save money in the long run. Again, we are asking the town to research an opt-in program, which means only those who want composting will pay for it. It will not impact your taxes in any other way. The composting vendor would handle all customer service interactions. Beyond initial negotiations with the composting vendor, the town would have to do very little. Additionally, there are many grants available through the state. Mass DEP has awarded $350K and grants to towns in Massachusetts. For example, in Bedford, their startup costs were completely covered by the grants they received. Beyond startup costs, the ratepayer system pays for itself since residents opt in to pay the fee. These in green are some of the towns that have partnered in various capacities with Black Earth, one example of a composting vendor the town can negotiate with. And then Concord is right in the center in yellow. Black Earth Composting has 40 towns offering free starter kits to residents. And the towns that offer townwide composting are also highlighted. You can see Bedford, Lexington, Arlington. Out of those towns, they also have 4 towns offering completely free service to residents and 4 towns offering subsidies back to the residents for signing up. This is just one set of data from a composting vendor. Even more towns could have town-wide composting with other vendors. The Climate Initiative group of Newbury Court residents also sponsors this article. Concord Climate Action Network and the League of Women Voters recommend positive action, and Mothers Out Front also supports this article, in addition to those already on the screen. We appreciate your consideration in this article, helping Concord be more sustainable.
Thank you very much. You can have a seat in case we have questions for you. And I think we have a few boards and committees who would like to speak on this article. Let's start with the Select Board.
Paul Bohm for the Select Board, Madam Moderator. So,
proceed.
Excuse me?
Yeah, proceed.
Okay. The Select Board voted 3-2 to take no action on Article 42 as currently proposed. So why did we so vote? I really want to emphasize that the Select Board is fully supportive of actions related to reducing greenhouse gas emissions as part of our climate action plan and increasing the usable life of our landfills, both through composting. There's complete agreement on that. And in addition, and importantly, we are fully supportive of and encourage new ideas and civic engagement from our student population. And we really applaud the thoughtful and accurate description of the benefits of composting. However, the majority of the Select Board felt that determining the feasibility of a ratepayer town-sponsored program was not the most efficient and practical path forward. There are other paths. Such a ratepayer town-sponsored program, even if feasible, would likely unnecessarily burdensome by way of achieving the goals of increasing citizens' participation in the programs. Possible implementation of such a program, even if feasible, could be costly to the town, and importantly, unduly burden town staff, especially our Public Works Department for implementation and management, and possibly the Light Board for billing. And as you all know, the Public Works Department really has their hands full in multiple projects all around town, and it's quite challenging. Public Works is focused on higher priority efforts relating to delivering services, such as road paving, safety improvements, land use planning, managing current sewer, drinking water, stormwater, and trash programs, and others. And a really key fact is that the citizens can now easily sign up for composting through vendors, as have about 600 or so households in Concord. Citizens don't need the town to get in the middle of that opportunity. So those were the reasons for the Select Board's recommendation of no action on the motion. However, we do see the town adding value to and assisting in that effort. And in that regard, I will be presenting an alternative motion for consideration on behalf of the Select Board. Thank you.
Okay, so do you have a slide? You have it ready? Okay. Okay, so the motion that we have here is to substitute for the motion you already saw under Article 42, this motion. Can we have a second on this motion to substitute?
Point of order.
Yes.
Does the Public Works Commission and the Climate Action Commission Committee have recommendations to read from the floor prior to this on the main motion?
You would like to, well, this amendment has come up here now procedurally, do you have a problem with them saying what their support is before we move on to this?
I have no objection at all.
Thank you.
Okay, so why don't you hang on to that motion to substitute, and we'll hear from the Public Works Commission and the Climate Action Commission, and then you come with your motion to substitute. Okay. So this is just a kind of a little bit of institutional respect happening here. Okay, so let's hear first from the Public Works Commission.
Madam Moderator. Hi, I'm Andrea Solomon. I'm the Chair of Public Works, speaking for Public Works. So, why does Public Works oppose this article? We did vote on this unanimously against it. To be clear, the Public Works Commission agrees that composting is one of the best ways we can reduce the amount of waste going into landfills. Since most of us already compost, we know that you don't have to wait for the town to research and figure out how to offer this service when there is already a well-established, efficiently run, cost-effective service available to us right now. So instead of waiting for town committees and staff to figure this out, to research, budget, seek approval for that budget, and negotiate a contract and then roll out the program, you can support this effort by subscribing to the very popular and reliable composter who will pick up your compost on a schedule that suits you. For those of you who might like to do your own composting, the town does in fact already provide receptacles for a cost along with instructions to do it in your own backyard. Focusing on efficiency without expanding government is a key effort that Concord taxpayers appreciate and support. Relying on the town government to figure out what has already been figured out, waste time and money in departments that we consistently demand be more efficient in order to reduce costs to taxpayers. Instead, take up this effort by signing up for the existing affordable compost service. Many of you already subscribe, and because of Concord's high subscription rate, we receive a heavily discounted rate from this composter. As a community, we are already stepping up to do our part, but the students are right, we could do more. We think that teaching people how easy it is to compost is the best way to promote it. It's not the expense, which is already very inexpensive, that's preventing greater participation. It's knowing how to do it. And if I can do it, you can too. I was so impressed by what I heard from the students, especially Ileana, at a select board meeting, that I signed up all by myself. So instead of voting yes and thinking that you've done your part by leaving it to government to figure this out for you, take a minute to talk to one of us or Google Black Earth and see what comes up. We hope to combine efforts with the Climate Action Committee and other community groups to offer this education, and are very hopeful that the Sunrise Club would help too. I urge town meeting to support the initiative to compost by voting no on this article, leaving government out of this relationship with composting, and to pursue composting through the subscription service that already exists. So please don't wait for municipal delivery when it is available right now for you today.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from the Climate Action Committee.
Madam Moderator, my name is Brad Hubbard Nelson. I live at 221 Nashawtuck Road, a member of the Climate Action Committee, also called the CAC. And we unanimously supported the article because we think it is the most effective way to get a lot of people composting more. It's a simple measure in support of the Climate Action Plan. That is what our committee is about. And our understanding, we may find out this year, is that negotiating a curbside compost that is town-assisted, not a government-run, but town-assisted, will get many more people. Like in Lexington, 30% of people subscribe rather than 10% here. Citizens in 2024 declared a climate emergency and strengthened our goals for emissions reductions, and that includes all the sectors, including waste, where we have a goal of reducing our waste by 30% by 2025, which was last year, and we made almost no progress towards that goal. And we see that this is getting people composting en masse is the easiest and most cost-effective way to do it. And whether it be a ratepayer plan or some other plan, we are up for whatever works. But just advertising that people can go call the company, is not necessarily that likely to work to get the kind of rates we want. Anyway, we do, as pointed out in the presentation, there's a lot of demand, especially from people who don't necessarily have their own, multifamily or dwellings that have a harder time subscribing. We'd like to support this article to find out the best way to do it and get it done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did you?
May I respond?
Briefly.
Thank you to everyone who has given us more feedback today. I would like to reiterate that our article is focused on researching the plan, researching the feasibility, and also another factor of our article is that it is not directed to be any singular town committee to do the research. It can be the Climate Action Committee. It could be a separate other climate group. It could be any other committee in the town that is not the Concord Public Works Department. Another thing I would just like to quickly mention is that, like Mr. Hubbard Nelson mentioned, is that this is already in our town goals. It is already in the Climate Action Plan. The 30% waste diversion goal is also in the state plan. This is going to be wanted by the state for us to do it by 2030. Our goal with this is to get the town ahead and do their research now before it could possibly be mandated by the state to do it. One last thing is that this is a ratepayer plan. What that means is that the composting company would handle all services, all customer service, basically everything to do with implementing it and having it running from that point. The town government would have to do essentially nothing other than the initial contract. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bohm?
Thank you. If I can have that slide up. Okay, so let me read the motion. Mr. Bohm, on behalf of the Select Board, moves that the town ask the town manager and the Select Board to explore the feasibility of negotiating lower composting rates from third-party suppliers and to support the Concord Carlisle High School Sunrise Movement Club in expanding awareness in town of composting benefits.
All right, could we have a second for the motion to substitute? I see that we have one. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you'll support this substitute motion rather than composting me after this. So at the heart of this alternative motion is the fact that, as mentioned previously by me and others, subscribing to third-party vendor-run and vendor-managed composting programs is currently widely available to residents. So what's the added value that the town government can provide? We're not walking away from this or trying to help. We believe that that added value is to work to enhance citizens' participation in those programs through two main actions. So the alternative motion has the benefits of, one, focusing on two pieces to simplify the efforts involved in working towards and achieving the same goals being expanding the use of composting by town residents for all the reasons, environmental reasons that we talked about. Potentially leveraging wider participation to lower costs, and by building awareness and educating our citizenry. Actively negotiating those rates by offering vendors a win-win strategy would be our approach. So moving on both pieces go hand in hand in achieving this goal. And at the same time, these two pieces do not increase the burden on and diverting important efforts of town staff, which are really undetermined at this point what they are, but it's not zero. Also, at the same time, is not increasing the cost to the town of implementing a new program. We believe that these two pieces are exactly what's needed and are tangible yet straightforward actions that town government can take in collaboration with and assisting the student community in achieving the goal. Further, and importantly, this collaboration has an added benefit, the benefit of the town and the schools working together on a specific project. That would have many benefits going forward. So the Select Board believes that the amended or alternative motion will potentially achieve the results intended in the original motion, but doing so more quickly, efficiently, and more cost effectively.
Thank you. All right. Well, Ms. Benson, would you like an opportunity to speak on the motion to substitute this motion for yours? All right. You can have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So I believe one thing that has been brought up repeatedly is why do we need to shift from a private to public opt-in model when you can just sign up to use a commercial model today? There is a lot of evidence that having the public option will drive up participation a lot. Higher participant rates, we currently have about a 10% participation rate in Concord. Lexington, with curbside composting available, has a 30% subscription rate. Curbside composting can be cheaper for for subscribers with a public model because of the increased density discount. Currently, we are at about a 10% participation rate. We have already reached the maximum density discount using privacy signups. It's not going to get any cheaper, and right now, the best thing to do is to make it cheaper and more accessible to people who need to be able to afford it by offering it through the town. And again, I'd just also like to reiterate, this article could go to under many different town departments in order to have it researched. The feasibility, in the language of our article, we state that the town urged the select board to request that the town manager investigate and report on the board on the feasibility of adopting and offering a town-wide ratepayer composting program. The CIC could investigate it. We could ask another climate organization to investigate it. It does not have to go to the Concord Public Works and will not put additional work on them. And then one last thing, this is already in the town goals. I know I've already said this, but I would like to repeat myself. We have a 30% waste diversion goal. It is set by the state. We are going to have to figure out something in order to do this. I do not believe that advertising composting is going to have enough of an effect. I believe that this article, the way that we have written it, is going to urge the town to take action and research this and will have an effect in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from the Climate Action Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Brad Dye, 1019 Main Street, Chair of the Climate Action Committee, and speaking on its behalf.
Proceed.
Earlier this evening, at the start of town meeting, the Climate Action Committee held a meeting and voted unanimously to endorse no action on this motion. If I could ask Ms. McIntosh to get my one slide, please. As Ms. Benson and Mr. Hubbard Nelson have said, we have, as part of the Climate Action Plan, a very clear blueprint for how to do waste reduction in this town, and it is inclusive of composting. What you're seeing getting queued up on your screen right now is page 42 of the Climate Action and Resilience Plan. This is a plan which the Select Board had an opportunity to engage with and in fact endorsed. This is a plan which the Concord Public Works had an opportunity to engage with and in fact mutually agreed that this would be our town's plan. All of you gave your approbation at town meeting when this was a new plan. We had a year-long process talking about how we are going to be composting in this town in the next 5 years from 2020 to 2025 with a 30% reduction goal of solid waste. The only way for us to meet that goal is to scale composting in this town through a series of staged pilot projects, demonstration projects, and learning what is the right way for us to get to that 30% reduction target. The Select Board, I would respectfully submit to you, has failed to lift a finger to make this happen. The town needs to take seriously the obligation to decrease our solid waste by 30%. And I would submit to you that the only way for us to do that, the only plan that is being presented to you tonight that would get us meaningfully toward a 30% reduction is the petitioner's plan. The instant motion in front of you of substitution is not going to achieve a 30% reduction. Read it for yourself. Read our plan on page 42 of the Climate Action Plan. Madam Moderator, I hope that the motion for substitution fails.
Thank you, Mr. Dye. You may respond, but I just wondered if the Public Works Commission would like to speak as well, and then we'll come back to you, Mr. Bohm.
I think to continue to imply that this will not cost money to the town to investigate this, research, negotiate a contract is just false. If any of you pay attention to the town, how it works, what is required of staff when you are looking at a contract, it is complicated. It involves staff time. It will take up staff time. It does cost money. It will cost taxpayers money. Many of the examples of other towns that get discounts, that's because those are subsidized by taxpayers. That is not done here. We have a ratepayer paid enterprise fund that you opt into. Those plans are different. I can't go into all the details, but they have been covered at our various meetings by the Select Board, by public hearings, and by our own discussions at Public Works Commission. So it makes it seem so easy, but it is not. It will cost money, and it will cost time. Right now, there is an option available today. Right now, we could all sign up. If we had cell service here, we could sign up on our cell phones. There is and it's very reliable. It's super easy. I doubt it would take you more than 15 minutes to sign up for this. We have offered to educate people, to join in efforts with other committees. And by the way, it's in the Climate Action Committee charter to help educate the public on the best way to start these programs.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you got in the cell phone joke there, Ms. Solomon. Mr. Bohm.
Yeah, I just don't want there to be any misinterpretation. We are all on the same page here. There's no disagreement in in the Select Board in achieving the goals of the Climate Action Plan, including composting. The question is just how we get there. And if you really peel this back, and I think it's been stated, but let me simplify it, there are really two main ingredients. One is the public being aware of the benefits of composting and the cost of composting and the ease of composting, which is basically calling up a vendor. Now, on the costs, I will take issue with Ileana's contention that we've reached the maximum discounting rate. Negotiations are just that. I and several others have been involved in negotiations. You have to, with the vendor, you have to have a win-win situation. A win-win situation would be for us to double the number of composting subscribers, for example. Whatever will do the trick, we can negotiate it, I'm sure, beyond what other municipalities have done. And I know that Wellesley has negotiated, their only step was to negotiate lower rates. They're not running their own program. So, you know, the various towns that have done things, they are not all doing ratepayer programs. The municipal government has all been involved in lowering the rates or working with the citizens and getting composting increased. So we're all on the same page here. It's just how to get there.
Thank you very much. We'll open the floor now to questions and comments, and I want to remind folks that we're now addressing ourselves to the motion to substitute the motion. Can we have that back on the screen, please, so everyone can see what that looks like? Thank you. So this is the substitute motion that has been proposed by Mr. Boehm, and we will be discussing whether or not to adopt this as the substitute motion, and we will have a vote on it, and that will determine how we proceed next. Microphone number 1.
Hello, David Carr, 82 Losbrook Road. So I'd like to take a moment to thank the town for what they do on this already. We did one of those composting barrels about 15 or so years ago, and we've just been putting stuff into it and it just disappears. It's magic. But the other thing the town did a few years ago was there was a negotiation for solar panels. And there was a negotiation, and there was a special rate, and so forth. And we got in on that, and that's why we have solar panels on our house today. I don't think if you'd just given us a phone number and told us to call, that this would ever have happened for us. So I do think there's a real value to the town putting some effort into getting this thing going, into making it easy for people to participate, easier than it is right now. And I'm not 100% sure the substitute motion will do that. So that is my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 2.
Marty Plotkin, 54 Francis Street.
Mr. Plotkin.
I actually haven't decided about the substitute motion yet, but I just want to observe. I feel like there's actually some underestimating going on of the impact of adopting composting. We signed up with Black Earth, and I would estimate that our contribution to the landfill stream has gone down by a factor of 4 by volume and probably a factor of 10 by weight. And I'm curious to know of the money that we as ratepayers pay for our trash subscription, how much of it is affected by the quantity that we contribute, and how much of it is just the service of showing up at our curb. Because if it is the former, I think there's an argument to be made for some trade. We're doing some value to the town by reducing the trash that we put into the landfill. And I would happily pay even a slight amount less for a barrel half the size, literally. And you know, if you're talking about incentives, it doesn't take that many dollars to create an incentive for people to adopt something like this. That said, I also am totally in favor of the town negotiating a better rate for us to contract with Black Earth.
Thank you. Mr. Cathcart, are you able to address that question, whether reduction in compost content would result in decreased costs for solid waste disposal?
Technically, I can't give specifics, but theoretically, what we do is we have costs for the picking up of the trash, recycling, and then what we call a tipping fee, which is based on the volume and weight of what is then brought to landfills or recycling facilities. The challenge we have is we literally, Public Works went through standing up a brand new program just last year. And what I can tell you is the effort to educate, understand what Concord's specific needs were, develop the program, has been significant. It was a big success, but it took years and dedicated staff time. We are still on the back end of almost recovering from that activity. This is a separate process. We have a contract with Waste Management. They do not have compost service. So what you'd be looking at is, can the town, through volunteers or committees, do what Concord Public Works did fairly successfully? In a short period of time, I'd say it can't happen. We know what the level of effort is, but as far as the education and awareness, I will say I'm a little bit taken aback by the understanding or misunderstanding of the level of effort that's required to do these sorts of programs. And unless you've done it, and we've done it recently, I can tell you it's a real slippery slope to put into the town what I would call an unfunded mandate to do this work. And if volunteers can do it, I would be very surprised. I know for the program, I know volunteers can do research, but what I'm hearing from the research to date is there is some questions on accuracy of what's being presented as far as cost benefit.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Benson, would you like to reply to that?
Yes, thank you. Could I have the slides from my presentation brought up, if that's possible? While that's going on, I'd just like to also address, the state plans will regulate this by 2030. Once again, state plans are going to have regulate this. It is best that we do it now, and also our motion states research and not implementation. The research is in order to make the implementation as the most cost-effective as possible. Oh, I apologize. I believe I just hit something. Thank you. So, and in terms of cost, I have a slide on that. Okay, yes. So in Bedford, the saved town costs from going to trash to composting was about $25 per year for each resident. It is predicted to be around $18.31 saved per year in Concord. This is, as previously explained, due to tipping fees. And again, our main goal with this is to increase the accessibility to residents through lower costs.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to microphone number 1.
Gwendolyn Humphreys, 400 Hayward Mill Road.
Ms. Humphreys?
It sounds to me as though the select board is concerned we would be reinventing the wheel with the original motion, and I don't understand why. The presentation made it very clear that many of the neighboring towns are already doing this. As I recall, we were the first town in the United States to ban single-use water bottles. We used to be a leader in waste management. Yes, there are many ways to compost household by household, but I love the idea that the town could manage this for us. I know none of us want to spend more money, but to quote President Jed Bartlett, the government can take in money and then distribute it. This sounds like one of those times that maybe we should invest if that's what it takes. That's why there are grants available, as the original presenter said. The original article seems like an easier way to arrange and especially to encourage composting. I would love, ideally, one fee that handles all my waste management and not have to coordinate endless subscriptions. I'll leave that to Netflix, Amazon, and Disney.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the auditorium.
Thank you. Microphone 2, please.
Lisa Resnick, 45 Laurel Street. As far as the amendment to the article goes, it looks to me like it's just a way to push this onto a back burner. I didn't see anything in that amendment that had a date on it, so I don't see where there would be a goal that that it would be accountable. To say that we support the composting, and to really mean it, would mean to have some clear action that was going to be taken. So without that, I don't think the amendment is something to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers in the auditorium?
We have one more, please.
All right.
Rachel Wheeler, 742 Fairhaven Road. I would urge us to vote down the amendment and stick with the original resolution, which is quite well thought out and is research-oriented. Yes, it will probably cost some investment of town staff time, and that's has to be prioritized because this is a change that we need to make, and we need to make it quickly. Methane emissions are really a climate emergency. I also question the statement that's been made that we can solve this by each signing up individually. We have quite a few residents who do not have control over their individual waste streams, such as people living in our senior living facilities. And just saying that we could all subscribe individually to Black Earth or to compost in our backyard doesn't address a significant part of the waste stream. I think that's where research would come in handy.
Thank you.
Thank you
Madam
very-
Moderator, may we take one more?
Well, hold on a second. We have a response that Mr. Bohm would like to make. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you. I just want to comment on the rate of implementation. I think neither the basic motion or the amendment really has a date on that. Let me tell you two things. You have a select board member standing in front of you presenting a motion, and there's a commitment on my part and the select board part to kind of move forward on our part. I will say that turning this over to a town, to the research and the ratepayer program, it's going to take much longer because staff have a lot of other things to do. And so this is not on the front burner of the staff in terms of establishing all the parameters of the ratepayer program, as Alan Cathcart and Andrea Solomon mentioned. So to get this done and get this moving forward, I think the amendment is going to be your faster path to do this.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to the auditorium.
Thank you. Microphone 2, please.
Peggy Wargelin, 97 Hillside Ave.
Can you get a little closer to that microphone for us?
Or Peggy Wargelin, 97 Hillside Ave. It's weird to see myself, sorry. I wondered if perhaps part of the reason it was so complicated to do the recent trash conversion was because it was a conversion. You had people who were used to the way it had been before, et cetera, and you had to change it, whereas this is new. So you're not gonna have to educate everybody on how it's different, and I don't know. So hopefully that would be a little bit less. Also, with a little bit of snark, I'll say we hire consultants for a lot of stuff. So maybe we could get a consultant for this and get it done quickly if we need research.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to the gymnasium here. Let's go to microphone number 1.
Thanks, Matt Johnson, 21 Winthrop Street. And I want to start by saying we're not on the same page. I mean, this is the town where William Wheeler started a water utility, where we have our own light plant, where we have our own fiber network, where we have a town-run garbage program, and we just did this stormwater utility. Concord is a town where the power of government to do good and to improve our quality of life and to meet our goals is something we look at positively. We think we know we can get stuff done here. And the skepticism that I hear out of the select board tonight is shocking. I feel like I'm in the town meeting of Concord, North Carolina. This is, we need both. You should go negotiate now on your own. Meanwhile, let's get a town program.
Thank you very much. Let's go to microphone. All right. Nope, we're not going to do that, folks. Number 2. Microphone number 2.
Hi there, Julie McClure, Main Street, Concord, Mass. I want to echo Matt's comments. He speaks my mind, but also just to say, I think this is a really golden opportunity to celebrate the civic engagement of these young people, and I really applaud their effort.
Okay, I'll let you clap. That's worth an exception.
If we live in a meritocracy, the petitioner wins. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to microphone 2 again.
Colleen Humphreys, 400 Hayward Mill Road.
Ms. Humphreys.
I'm concerned because this was supposed to have been done by last year, and it hasn't. So I don't have a whole lot of, losing the words, confidence in the select board right now. So I think we should go with what the kids are suggesting because, you know, they're suggesting something.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Arthur Walker, 68 Commonwealth Avenue. I think 42, as originally proposed, stands on its own merits. And not that I think the select board is not on the same page, but I think there are different opinions about, you know, how this might work. But I think what occurs to me is that this is very time sensitive. Our globe is burning. I mean, read all the science, educate yourselves. This is an emergency, and you know, whether we do it through the select board or Article 42, which I think will be the most efficient way to jumpstart this. We need to jumpstart this effort faster than tomorrow, and or we won't have much of Concord to take care of several generations ago. I mean, this is the science, and I think that you know, what a wonderful opportunity for the whole town to cooperate and really push this. It is time sensitive, and I think that's my take on it. I think we need to go with Article 42, and the amendment, although maybe well thought out, I don't think will give us the push that the original article would. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to microphone number 2. Now, that's you, sir.
So I'm a member of the.
Right, okay, and I'm guessing you're not registered to vote.
Yes.
Yes, I'm okay with that. Tell us
Okay.
your name and address and go ahead and speak.
My name is Evan Holtzgren, and I live at 73 Neshoba Road in Concord. I just really think that this is really an important step for the town, and it's really going to secure our future with solid waste. And I feel like the other proposed plan might not be as effective because it's, I feel like we've already done a lot of promotion and education surrounding this issue, and I feel like the ratepayer plan is not going to change. I feel like it's going to stay at 10%. And I'm here to support, and please support the original motion.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Hi, Cynthia Katz, 20 Conant Street.
Ms. Katz.
Thank you. Madam Moderator. I've been looking forward to this article for weeks after I first heard the presenter at the townhouse, I don't know what that thing was called, you know, the pre-town meeting thing. Hearing, thank you. And I was really looking forward to this tonight, and I support this motion. I was we've composted at home for a long time, and then when the pilot project came on, we decided to do that. And I thought that the town doing a pilot project meant that it was going to be moving forward with townwide composting at curbside collection. So I was really disappointed when they just stopped it. And we did sign up for Black Earth, but the idea of being able to have the town negotiate something where more people would get involved, and it could conceivably be a little less expensive, because that bump also in our trash and recycling fees was pretty significant for us. And so I support the original motion. I support moving forward with this quickly. We don't have time to waste, and composting is something that we should be doing, curbside collection through the town, I hope. And thank you to the Sunrise students for bringing this forward.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Hi, my name is Rachel Gibson, and I live at 23 Lexington Road. I've also been excitedly waiting to hear the article presented tonight, and there are a couple facts that, for me, make me not support the amendment, but support the original article. And one goes to the fact that food waste accounts for roughly 8 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions. That's significant. And as the student shared, there's a 2030 deadline that is coming very quickly. The second piece of information that was really helpful to hear was the participation rate in other towns that do have that government connection that we do not have here. And as a relatively new resident of Concord and someone who comes from a state that required all municipalities to offer compost along with landfill and recycling, I was quite stunned that that was not available. And it took me months to actually discover that there was a private option for me to utilize in Black Earth, and it was on a walk with my dog when I saw a bin outside. So it's not, I find it hard to believe that the participation rate is going to go up any other way than this. The students should be applauded. I really appreciate the work that you have done to bring this to the town, and we should all do right by them because they're the ones who are going to have to suffer the most for what we've done to this planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 2.
David Bell, I'd like to call the question on the substitute motion, please.
All right, so this is a non-debatable motion which requires a second and a 2/3 vote. Do I have a second? I see that I do. We will use our paper voting slips for calling the question. All those in favor of calling the question and proceeding to a vote, please raise your slips. Thank you very much. All those opposed? Well, that looks unanimous in here. How's it look in the auditorium?
Unanimous in here as well.
All right, so we will now proceed to a vote on the substitute motion. Can we have that back on the screen, please, so we know what we're, all right. So there is Mr. Boehm's proposed substitute motion. We'll use our clickers for this, okay? Do we have a, okay? All right, we will open the voting now. And remember, a yes vote is in favor of substituting the motion that we were looking at instead of the original vote. A no vote is going back to the original motion. Okay, let's close the window. All right, so the motion to substitute fails. We will now return to the original motion. Can we have that on the screen, please? And we will now open the floor to questions and comments on the original motion that was offered. Microphone number 1, please.
Hi, Nancy Frisella Lee, 140 Walden Street. I might be repeating some things that some other people said, so forgive me, but I had to get up and speak because I am so proud of these students. And I wanted to say that this is such a great way to end this town meeting. It's really going to end it on a high note and set an example for our town. And I hope that tomorrow, when we read in the bridge that this is passed, because I am pretty sure it's going to pass, that everyone in our town is going to read that, and they're going to wish that they had been here at town meeting. I wish more people would come, because this is what our town is so wonderful about. This is what's so wonderful about our town, and I'm so proud of town meeting. Thank you.
I think the Public Works Commission has asked for a moment for one more point.
I just also wanted to point that I realize this is a feel-good vote. You will feel very good when you push that button for a yes if you do. But it doesn't end here, because there is absolutely no funding with this article. So if you care that you want this to go through and continue as an effort, you're going to have to vote for the budget that supports it. And also, if you want to get started a little sooner than it will take the town government to roll this out, you can still support it by subscribing to Black Earth. I just want it, I hear timeline being mentioned a lot. If you want this to happen quickly, going through town government does not make that happen quickly. So that's, just keep in mind your options when you walk out of here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Solomon. Let's go to the auditorium.
Microphone number 2, please.
Thank you. Court booth, 144 Wright Road. Madam Moderator.
Proceed.
I want to thank the petitioners. I think the Sunrise Club has put forth a persuasive argument. I appreciate the concern about staff time. I think staff time is an important commodity, and people are an important resource. We need to protect them. However, given the importance of this, if we want to negotiate collectively, town government is the agency that negotiates collectively on all of our behalf. So I think it's a compelling argument they've made, and I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The petitioner would like to make a response to the concerns that have been raised.
Hello, I just want to quickly reiterate, there are grants available for the town to apply for in order to get the funding for this. That was part of the initial presentation, was that I believe around 300K has already been awarded by the state to other towns. I believe that a part of the research can be to find those grants and find those to apply for them. Only the town can apply for those grants, unfortunately, so we could not specifically list them, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Mark Martinez, Alfred Circle. So first of all, I think the students have done a great job. I have 3 students, I get it. So one of the things that we haven't talked about is no one's talked about what it costs. So we pay, my family pays approximately $70 every 6 months. So it's less than my daughter spends a week at Starbucks. And for $12 a month, we get 10 pounds of compost given back to us that we use in the garden or whatever. But I think one of the issues I have with this is I just don't think it's ready for a vote. I would have loved to have seen a presentation on peer town programs. Whether Bedford is subsidizing it is important. You know, Matt Johnson's talking about, you know, town-wide, and this article actually uses ratepayer. So are we suggesting that this is mandatory for every citizen? So if not, we should be clear that, you know, although we do have separate opinions, we're talking about really a buyer's collaborative, right? So we're asking the town to negotiate on our behalf an opt-in program, which will hopefully get us under $10 a month, right? So for me, it's just, it would have been helpful just to see the specific data of the other towns, what they did to achieve their success, and then model our program after their success using real numbers. And hopefully we can drop the numbers down. And then it's not gonna be Waste Management. They don't offer the service, so it's gonna have to be Black Earth or another vendor. So, and I do have a lot of appreciation for the point that Alan made and the DPW commissioner made about, look, we're all volunteers, we all sit on these committees. We don't have time to do the research, so we're gonna have to pay for the research to be done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martinez. So I'm just going to make 2 points here. One is that a lot of that information actually was presented at the hearings, and we don't have the luxury of quite as much time here at town meeting as we do at the hearings for that material to be presented. And then, yes, plainly, this is a ratepayer program. It's opt-in, so it's just the same. The proposal is just the same as what we currently have for solid waste, which is opt-in. And, you know, on my street, half of our street has opted into town trash, and the other half has their own private haulers. So, microphone number 2.
Hugh McCrory, 59 Lee Drive.
Mr. McCrory.
So I've heard a lot of really good points tonight, both here and also at home. I think, you know, change is difficult. But I think it's possible to do both. You can sign up for Black Earth and vote yes on this motion. So it's not an either or. You can do both. But it's clear over the last 5 years that, you know, there hasn't been a lot of progress. And I'm not blaming anyone for that. That's just, I think, what the petitions are saying. We need change, and we're not the first. We were the first with single bottle water, and I actually live on the same street as the late and the great, one of the great Concordians that I've known is Bob Lawson. He passed away last year. So if Bob was here, I would ask you all, what would Bob Lawson say to this article? And I'm serious about that. A lot of people thought we were they were crazy getting rid of the single-use water bottles in Concord. I don't think anyone's gone thirsty having done that. You know, and that's been a good thing. Change is difficult. It's possible to, this article is proposing a minor step forward. It's, and the petitioner's done a really good job. So I just encourage us all to give it a chance. Let's do both. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Gwendolyn Humphreys, 400 Hayward Mill Road. I have a 6-month-old nephew, and I look around at the world, and I do not know what we are leaving for him. And with all due respect to everyone in the room, including me with Grays, I trust these kids to know what the world needs to go to, because they're going to have to live in it too. And I am really disappointed in what I'm hearing from the town tonight, from the town government, that is, because I'm hearing it'll take too long, it'll cost too much, we can't do it. And if we don't do it now, it will take longer. If we do it now, it'll take as long as it takes. And it'll cost what it costs. There are grants from the presenter, from the state. The presenter mentioned this more than once. I'm also really concerned that I heard town officials saying that it's going to cost us money, and evidently did not listen to the presenter saying there are grants available. There are towns that paid nothing to do this because of the grants. So I urge everybody, listen to the kids, listen to what they're actually saying. We can do the research, we can figure out how we should do this best, and we can leave a better world for our kids.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 2.
Yes, Kim Novick, 53 Temple Road. For the petitioner, I have a question. For one thing, the statement is I very much support it, but can the town manager ask the board to look into this and come up with recommendations as far as how to get things done over the next 4 years?
Yes, so the language, I'm sorry, I know that the language of the article is a little bit convoluted, is that the town urged the select board to request that the town manager investigate and report. So that is definitely an option as part of the research that we are asking the town to do. We are leaving the research in the hands of the town. Beyond what we have already researched, we're asking the town to do it from what they have to offer and research that themselves.
And would that include the select board?
It could potentially include the select board. It could potentially include another group. It could potentially include any number.
Okay, so if the select board is really interested in doing this, you could step up and volunteer. It sounds like you've already done that. So I urge everyone in this room to vote for this amendment. We're not for the amendment, but for the motion. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Microphone number 1.
Gail Heyer, 54 Nancy Road. So I have a sort of technical question, something I've been wondering about when I'm making the decision for me whether to compost or not, and I was wondering if it's something that you all considered. So composting versus putting food waste in a landfill. Most landfills today have mechanical systems that collect the leachate and collect the methane and use it to generate electricity. So I'm thinking, like, if the landfills eventually don't have food waste, then there's not going to be like methane created in the landfill, and we're sort of losing out on this free electricity. So if I'm wrong about that, please let me know. Or I'm just wondering if that's something you had considered in your research.
I apologize. That was not something we had initially had research done on in advance of this meeting. I believe that could definitely be one of those things that could be taken into consideration when the town does this research. Again, what we're asking the town to do is to research the feasibility, make a cost benefits plan, see what is possible and what is both the cost and the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be a fact question whether or not our waste right now goes to a landfill that has a methane collection system. So that would be something to think about. Thanks.
Sorry, I do believe that the landfill we currently use is the Fitchburg landfill. I'm sorry, I don't have any other.
Oh, okay, that's all right. Thanks.
Thank you. Microphone number 2.
David Allen, Heathbridge Road.
Mr. Allen.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe this motion is ready right now for Concord and ready for a vote. I think equally we need to be mindful when we hear that there's an unfunded mandate. Those are not good things. I suggest when we do the budget next year, we fund whatever it is needs to be funded. Alan Cathcart has done a remarkable job when he tells us that it's going to take staff time. We need to listen to him. Let's pass this remarkable piece of work that the students have brought us and get our house moving down the road in a better place for the generation to come along, particularly for old folks like me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1.
Gilda Gusson, 149 Neshoba Road. I do not want the Public Works Department to feel like they're drowning. I don't want any town staff to feel like they're drowning. I would really like the Select Board to recognize that this kind of article is going to be coming up again and again and again as we try to mitigate climate change. And if the Select Board could work with every single department and every single committee and make it clear that mitigating climate change is our priority, then we wouldn't be blindsiding our staff and we would get what we need to get. So we're not so worried about stormwater management. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone number 2. That comes out of the holder, by the way.
Okay. Holly Kratzley, Edmonds Road. I'd like to move the question.
All right. Okay, that requires a second. I see that we have one, and you know the drill. This requires a 2/3 vote, and if it passes by a 2/3 vote, we proceed to a vote on the motion. All those in favor of calling the question and proceeding to a vote? Thank you very much. All those opposed? Well, that's unanimous in here. How about in the auditorium?
Unanimous in the auditorium as well.
All right, we will now proceed to a vote. What do you say, guys? Clickers or voting slips? Voting slips? Clickers. All right, I hear more clicker voices than voting slip voices. All right, we'll use our clickers. Windows open. All right, we'll close the window. Okay, so that passes by a vote of 205, 235, and I do so declare. Thank you very much. I want to note that we have addressed Articles 43 through 48 on the consent calendar. That takes us to Article 49. And I don't have a motion under Article 49, and I therefore declare that the meeting is taking no action on Article 49. We have addressed Article 50 on the consent calendar, and that concludes the business of 2026 Annual Town Meeting. And I will entertain a motion to dissolve the meeting. All right, all those in favor? Excellent. We are dissolved. Now, MMN, can you put up the QR code for the town meeting survey? Thank you very much. Take the survey, guys. Good night.